Alright guys, what's up? Welcome back. Strategy video number 2 for you today. Another team strategy. Look at that split. Beautiful, beautiful. So we're going to be looking at myself and my buddy Tempest. Now our allies in this game were actually decent enough, and they ended up doing a pretty fairly good job in assisting our efforts. We're going to be opening up, again, going for and basing our decisions on what our opponents are doing. So here I am, Force, the Yellow Terran player. My buddy here, Tempest, the Protoss player, of course. I ended up just actually getting Terran in these past 2 matches, oddly enough. I do play random nowadays, which is fun and jolly and jovial and all that. And here we go. I've got a Zerg player on the team as well, who did happen to recognize my East celebrity. Well, and then a Terran player over here, Kanpu. So our allies, again, are Sunny D and Kanpu. Again, we're going to be looking at seeing what your opponent's doing, responding to your opponent. Now, I'm going to end up actually going along the same lines, and so is Tempest. Tempest is going to end up getting DT, and I'm going to end up getting Cloak Banshees. But this isn't a straight tech to DT, and it isn't a straight tech to Cloak Banshees. It's more of dealing with your opponent and what they're doing. In fact, what I actually open up with is Hellion Marine, and I push out with Hellion Marine because we end up seeing an early expansion from the Zerg players. So there's a few points in this team strategy video. The first and foremost point is that you mustn't expand early in team games. If you do, you have to get lucky. That's kind of the idea. If you expand early in a team game, you have to rely on your opponents not seeing it, because if your opponents see an early expansion and it is not protected, say it's not like one of those expansions inside of your main base or something, you are going to lose it, and you're going to severely hinder your team, because investing in that expansion means you have less units to defend, and it means that a push from your opponents, in this game us, we are the opponents, a push from your opponents in a fast expansion will severely cripple you, and that's exactly what we're going to see here. So you can see Tempest over here with this probe. Look at this baller probe. 2 kills right now. Tempest, I am impressed with that play. Very good. But doing scouting, just looking for the ordinary. We want and we hope to see basic stuff from our opponents. We want to see those early gateways. We want to see that barracks going. Tempest still going to be engaging with this probe. He's, again, already got 2 kills. I'm just super impressed by that. You can see here the Zerg player checking these expansions, and what he's going to see in just one moment, here it goes, is a look at that early expansion. So you can see for myself, what have I been doing? Well, pretty standard opening so far. Opened up, got that barracks, there's that supply depot refinery. Second refinery going to be coming as well, because I plan on getting factory heavy and then moving up to starport, and there is that starport. Also making sure you get these things as soon as possible. You know, when you place a factory down, you want to get it as soon as you hit that 100 Vespian and that 150 minerals. You don't want to wait till you have it like 200 Vespian. That's kind of beside the point. Same thing for whatever race you are. Get those things as soon as possible. But we see this early expansion, and we're going to decide to push out against it. So I'm going to keep continuing to come out with Marines right now. Also going to be getting a Hellion or 2 out of this factory, and we're going to see me tech up again to Cloak Banshees. Now, my reasoning behind this, and I don't want you, just because the last video ended up being Cloak Banshees, and so is this video, I don't want you to assume that that's just the only opening that I do in team games. The reasoning behind this is that I know that the Zerg player has really hurt his team by doing this, and I'm going to try to take advantage of that. I'm going to try to take advantage of that by getting Cloak Banshees and doing what I can to hit them early, because this expansion is going to die. There's no doubt about it. Pink is actually going to go for that 7 Roach push, and like I told him right here, I'm going to be pushing out with Marines and Hellions. So that first Hellion's on the way. I've got my nice little group of Marines. You can see here trying to keep those resources nice and low. There's really no excuse, especially early on in the game, for you to ever really amass resources. You can see that Vespian right there, and you're going to say, well, Force, what the hell are you doing? Saving up that Vespian because that starport's just about finished, and I'm going to be going straight away for those Cloak Banshees, and you're going to see that actually kind of lines up almost perfectly. So going to be pushing out right now. Again, we know that early expansion's there, so we're going to be pushing out. We're going to try to see what we can do to take out that expansion. Shouldn't be much of a difficult issue. And then we're going to push against whoever expanded. We're going to push against whatever side has expanded. So knowing that it's purple who's expanded, we know that he doesn't probably have a huge army, and we're going to be pushing against his side, and you're going to see how effective that is. And look at this right now. Second, look at how low that was. The second that starport hits there, we get that cloak, get that first Banshee out, and then just continue to go from there. I typically move from there into getting siege tech and getting some tanks out, and then maybe getting a few more barracks as well. That's going to allow me to pump out the bio while getting siege tanks, and then usually move into something like a Raven or something of that sort. So expansion is dropped, and here we go. Going to be pushing up into this team, and this is why. This is kind of more of a cautionary tale strategy video than it is looking at me going Cloak Banshees and Tempest going for that cloaked DT there early on. It's more of a cautionary tale for a player, especially Zerg. I know it's very comfortable as Zerg players to expand early. You really don't want to do it in team games. It isn't the wisest decision. You're going to see we're going to end up doing quite a bit of damage in this push. It's just not going to be quite enough. He does end up getting us around there, unfortunately. Should have let the roaches go in first, but obviously he's not someone that I'm actually in Skype with like I am with Tempest, so communication doesn't necessarily work out the best. Over here, Tempest is warping in right now. Those DT going to take out that cannon and continue to work on the mineral line. And here we go. We can see that first Banshee moving out. Cloak is just about finished. There's that siege tank that I'm talking about. Going to be getting siege tank shortly thereafter, and here are these additional barracks. So going to continue to keep those resources nice and low, continue to tech up, but the simple fact that going for that early expansion, the simple fact of the matter is that it severely hinders the economy. And if you're a Protoss player, let me take a look at this spot for you. This is a solid spot to do some proxy warp-ins to your opponents on this map. Put a proxy pylon right here on the opposing side. That would be right about here. Is that right? Yeah, that would be right here for the opposing side. And then ask for scan or get an overlord for vision of the high ground. You can see what Tempest did here. Very smart, warping in one zealot so that he can maintain vision, so he doesn't have to rely on scans in the future. And then he could warp in DT on this side, warp in DT on this side, and you can see just how effective that is. And let's pick it right back up. But right now, these guys are severely crippled. They weren't prepared for DT. They're not going to be prepared for this Cloak Banshee here either. Moving in, doing damage, and going to wait. You don't want to also, here's another thing, don't move in with Cloak. If you're playing Terran, don't move in with Cloak. Get that Cloak when it's necessary. When that opposition comes that's going to cause you to lose the unit, then you get that Cloak. Otherwise, just stay off Cloak. Allow yourself to accumulate some energy. Telling a good game to my teammates. So we can see there as soon as the stalkers come getting Cloak. I do want to still be careful though, because I'm worried about scans. I'm worried about observers. So trying to stay on the fringe there, dropping that Cloak as well as soon as those stalkers disappeared. What we're going to see here is that observer does end up coming up, and knowing that, seeing those DT under attack, I'm going to choose to move right out right away. Unfortunately, he does end up walking into a cannon though. But look over here, still maintaining that production, still making sure things are coming out. Also coming out with that Raven right now, and this is just, you know, a good way to play team games, and really a good, like I had mentioned earlier, and like I've said a few times, a good reason for you not to early expand, because early expanding can cause you to really hurt your opponents. The big issue right here in this game was that since Purple early expanded, he didn't have those early defenses to deal with that push that we ended up moving out with. And then his teammate suffers as a result, because we end up in his base, we end up killing his buildings here, and then yeah, coupled with those DT and those Cloak Banshees, that was just a little too much for these guys to handle. So that about does it for this game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this strategy video as well. I guess the whole point of this was don't expand early, you will be punished for it. Continue to macro up, constant production out of all your buildings, very important. If you're Protoss, make sure you're using those warp gates whenever they're off cooldown. You want to keep your resources low, and you want to keep your army count high. You can see over here he's going to be doing the same thing, and just making sure, doing things like injecting larva for Zerg players while you're away from your base. All the basic stuff carry over into team games, but the biggest thing is don't expand early and prepare for early aggression. If you can learn to do those two things in team games, you're going to be much better off. So once again, guys, this has been Force from Force Strategy Gaming. Hopefully you enjoyed these team game strategy videos. If you did, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and as always, keep watching and keep owning. Just coming down with that factory. So the advantage, now, without actually physically seeing this, like we can here through everyone vision, you know when you see something like this that they are behind on tech. It's obvious. If you can get just enough to defend yourself and then continue to tech up, that's going to put you at a tech advantage, and that tech advantage is what can win you the game. So we just know this inherently, right? I know for a fact that my factory is ahead of both Terran players' factory. It's obvious because they've dumped so many resources into these early Marines. They must have a few more barracks, and they must have spent a lot of resources. I mean, these units are right here. Each of them cost 50 minerals. It's not much of a question, really. It's pretty obvious. So in knowing that, we get just enough to defend. We use the advantage of the bunkers to defend ourselves. And actually, Tempest is going to be coming down and placing a few cannons eventually as well.